My family treated me like a ghost while spoiling my brother. Now they want me to save his startup with my CEO uncle's money. Axel's name rang around our home like a song on loop. If he coughed, my mother would prepare fresh ginger tea. If I had a fever, "You'll be fine by morning, take a nap." His report cards were framed, mine got misplaced among mounds of junk mail. It was not dramatic. There was no screaming, no slamming doors, no "I hate yous." Only absence and emotional stillness. I'd arrive home from school to find the family eating dinner without me. "Oh, we thought you'd eaten already," my father would reply, hardly even leaving the TV. Axel's 13th birthday celebration included 30 kids, a rented VR equipment, and a magician. For my 16th, I sang a brief, "Happy Birthday," before my mother asked if I might mow the grass before visitors arrived for Axel's cello recital. I wasn't jealous. I was starving. By the conclusion of high school, the message had been clearly communicated. Axel was going places, and I was on my own. He was accepted into a private university. My parents celebrated as if he had won the Olympic gold medal. Me? I quietly enrolled in community college and took on my second job. I didn't even tell them. In the mornings, I stocked produce at a supermarket shop. Evenings, I drove about delivering pizzas with a half-broken GPS and a leaky soda bottle rolling under my seat. I made best friends in parking lots. When I couldn't afford petrol to drive home, I'd curl up in the back seat of my wrecked Civic, embracing my backpack and ignoring the buzz of mosquitoes and the discomfort in my lower back. Despite the tiredness, solitude, and skipped meals, I clung to an insane hope. A dream. I'd look at streetlights through hazy windows and imagine a future. One in which I had a real job, possibly an apartment with peeling paint but functional heat, and a dog who didn't care about my bank account. I valued peace more than achievement. But success would not hurt. I kept grinding semester after semester. My grades weren't horrible, but with shifts and sleep deprivation, they weren't great either. I never expected a miracle. I never imagined someone would save me. Then came the strangest Tuesday in my life. I was halfway through my shift, double parked outside a dentist's office, holding a pepperoni pizza in one hand and a 2-liter in the other, when a sleek black BMW drove up behind me. The window rolled down, revealing a face I had not seen in nearly a decade. "Michael," the man said, frowning. He resembled an older family photograph. My dad has the same jawline and eyes, but he wears better shoes. It was Uncle Christian, the wealthy one, who my parents always claimed was too arrogant for his own good and most likely cooked the books. He hadn't shown up for a Christmas dinner since I was 12. I glanced at him, wearing my grease-stained polo and name tag. "Uncle Christian," I said, moving the pizza box uncomfortably. He reclined back in his seat, whistling and laughing. "Well, damn, you're all grown up. Are you delivering now?" I nodded, my cheeks heating. "Yeah, just part-time." His smile faded slightly. "This your main gig or?" I shrugged. "2 jobs plus classes." Christian glanced at me for a bit before reaching into his wallet and handing me a business card. "Come see me tomorrow," he asked. Seriously. I had no idea what was going on, but for the first time in years, no one looked at me with disappointment. The next morning I glanced at the business card as if it were a trap. It was heavy, thick cardstock. The type you only see in movies or LinkedIn brag posts. Christian Carlton, founder and CEO of Stratex Holdings. It looked like money. Part of me expected him to disappear. Or perhaps it was a joke. But something about his voice yesterday sounded genuine. Curious, perhaps even concerned. I rode the bus downtown in my cleanest clothes, khakis that still fit from high school, and a blouse I ironed with a hotel hair straightener in a gas station bathroom once. I had no idea what a CEO's office might smell like, but it definitely wasn't garlic knots and sweat. When I stepped into the lobby of the Straits building, I felt as if I had entered another universe. Marble flooring. Plants that did not appear phony. A receptionist wearing an earpiece glanced at me as if I were a bug in the Matrix. "Michael," she said after confirming my name. "Mr. Carlton is expecting you. Elevator to 18 inches. By the time I got to the top floor, I was already sweating. Not from nerves, but from pure incredulity. Uncle Christian's office had a glass wall overlooking the entire city and leather couches that made you feel unworthy of sitting down. When I stepped in, he stood up and shook my hand, as if I were more than simply his nephew, but someone important. "You made it," he remarked. "Coffee?" Sure." He poured it himself. "There's no helper. There is no spectacular have a seat line. Just casual, like if we were equals." "I've got to be honest, Adam," he replied, passing me a mug. "I didn't expect to see you hauling pizzas. Your dad always talked like you were doing fine. Said you were at school working on some tech stuff." I laughed. A brief and bitter sound. "I'm at community college. Work 2 jobs. Sleep in my car for half the week. So yeah, tech stuff." Christian's eyebrows rose. "Jesus." He was visibly surprised. "That's what they let happen to you?" I shrugged. I guess they had bigger plans for Axel. Christian was silent for a long moment before walking to his desk and grabbing a folder. "Well, I've got a summer intern spot that just opened up. Pays well. Nothing fancy at first. Spreadsheets, research, maybe helping with onboarding. But you'd be working under my operations manager. Learn fast, show initiative, and I'll open bigger doors." I glanced at him, unsure whether this was an elaborate hallucination. "Why are you doing this?" Christian leaned back, his expression gentle. "Because when I was your age, your grandfather did nothing for me. And I promised myself if I ever saw someone in the family being treated like I was, I'd do the opposite." That hit harder than I anticipated. No one had ever spoken up for me, let alone a distant cousin. I swallowed, blinked a few times, then replied, "I'll take it." Christian grinned. "Good. You start on Monday. Get yourself a decent shirt. We don't do polos with cartoon pizza logos around here." As I walked out of the building, past the fountain and the shining black town cars, I spotted my reflection in a glass. I appeared fatigued, underdressed, and totally out of place. But for the first time in my life, I did not feel invisible. On my first day, I strolled into the Straits office looking like a kid who got lost on a school field trip. My thrift store khakis were too short and ankle breezy. Despite my best efforts, my shirt collar refused to lie flat. My sneakers creak with every step. I sounded like an agitated mouse moving across a wax floor. The receptionist handed me a welcome packet and badge, as if she were offering me a second chance in life. "Welcome aboard, Michael," she announced cheerfully. I smiled back, despite the fact that my stomach was doing cartwheels. When the elevator arrived on the 18th level, the difference in air pressure felt psychological. Everyone here strolled like they knew where they were going, as if they had a favorite sushi restaurant and a stock portfolio. I met Kareem, my direct supervisor, and his speech was as powerful as 5 espressos and a TED lecture. He wore a button-up that probably cost more than my entire high school wardrobe, as well as duck-patterned socks. "Let's not pretend this isn't weird," he remarked, shaking my hand. "Your uncle's a big deal, but I don't do nepotism. I do results. That's cool with you?" "More than cool," I replied. "I am truly terrified." He laughed. "Perfect. You'll do fine." The first few days felt like I was placed in a foreign nation with only a damaged phrasebook. People hurled around acronyms like they were playing bingo: KPI, ROI, CRM, QBR. I was 2 abbreviations away from sobbing. But I stayed late, took notes, and observed how people dressed, spoke, and organized their calendars like miniature gods in Outlook. Christian stopped over every couple of days, not in a spectacular way to look at my charity case, but quietly. "Need anything?" he'd say, sipping a double espresso that smelt like money. "A nap and a brain transplant," I'd suggest. He usually grinned and stated, "You're already doing better than you think." That hit me more than I cared to admit. Nobody had ever informed me I was doing well, let alone better than I thought. My parents used to tell me, "Try harder," or, "Axel would have done it faster." By week 2, something strange had happened. I started to enjoy being here. I began to feel a sense of belonging. Kareem assigned me genuine projects, not just coffee runs or printer responsibilities, but actual reports to create. People asked for my opinion. One senior analyst even appreciated how I presented a dashboard. I wanted to frame the email. I got out of my car and entered a little shared flat above a bookstore, which smelt like dust and forgotten dreams. My first night, I slept on a mattress. An actual mattress. I cried, not because I was unhappy, but because my back wasn't screaming in pain for the first time in months. One night, motivated and perhaps a touch cocky, I uploaded a photo to LinkedIn. I'm sitting at my computer, smiling like a sleep-deprived gremlin dressed in a bargain button-up. The caption reads, Day 30, from sleeping in my car to starting a new chapter. Long road ahead, but finally moving forward. I did not tag Christian. I didn't criticize the company. Just a modest, peaceful victory. The algorithm had other plans. It went moderately viral. Apparently people enjoy a good underdog narrative. A recruiter commented. A previous professor contacted me. A stranger offered to pay me lunch so I could hear the rest of the adventure. But what was the message that caused my heart to freeze? A text from my mother. Michael, is it true you work for Christian? We saw a post. Why didn't you tell us? I stared at the television, as if it had insulted my ancestors. Then the second message. Axel's asking. He feels really hurt that you didn't share this with us. Right. Axel is hurt. However, will the planet survive? I didn't respond. Not yet. I was still trying to figure out how I felt, and whether they missed me, or just who I was becoming. The day after my mother's Axel texted me, I received a friend request from her on LinkedIn. She hadn't acknowledged my presence on social media for years. Her profile still included one of those basic gray silhouettes, and a bio that read, Proud mother of Axel. There's no mention of a second son. Then followed the messages. I'm very proud of you, sweetheart. We've always known you had talent. You should come to dinner soon. It has been too long. Axel has just launched his campus app. You two could work together. Perhaps pitch it to your uncle. That final one had me laughing aloud. Like a full-bodied, wheezing laugh. Axel, who had once stated I smelt bad, now sought my help putting his glorified homework assignment in front of Christian. Meanwhile, I was immersed in the actual job. Kareem had included me in a vendor discussion, and Christian had begun passing me emails directly. Not just intern assignments, but meaningful decisions to weigh in on. He waved me into his office after a meeting and pointed to a flowchart I had supplied. You ever think about full-time, Adam? Postgrad? I blinked. I mean, yeah, but I didn't think I was ready. Christian leaned back with one eyebrow arched. Most people aren't. You learn by doing. But you've got a good head and a sharp eye. You work like someone who's been counted out and knows how to count himself in. That line, I wanted it tattooed across my rib cage. I left his office that day with an offer letter for a permanent position following graduation. Mid-level operations analyst. Actual salary. Health advantages. Paid time off. I gripped the paper as if it would vanish if I blinked too hard. The next weekend, I returned to my former grocery store. Not for work, but to recall. I got a Coke from the break room vending machine and sat where I used to cry between shifts, staring at my name badge, wondering whether I'd ever be anything more than a footnote in someone else's achievement. Now, I have my own story. However, the family continued to poke at the pages. My father emailed me. That was a miracle in and of itself, given that I'm 90% certain he thinks computers are just TVs with typing. The message was short. We're delighted you got yourself together. Perhaps it is time to put the past behind us. Come home for Axel's birthday on Sunday. He would love to see you. Of course he would. Especially if I arrived in business casual attire and said language like Q3 predictions and strategic collaborations. I could practically hear the conversation now. Wow, Michael's really turned things around. Yeah, I work for Christian of all people. I suppose he's finally useful. We always said he just needed a little push. They did not miss me. They missed the version of me that they could now flaunt at gatherings. So here's the thing. I did not owe them anything. I wasn't the scared kid looking for bits of attention anymore. I held a job, a home, a mentor who gave a damn. And for the first time in my life, I had a spine free of apologies. When Sunday arrived, I didn't attend Axel's birthday. I took a walk with Christian instead. We had coffee and sat by the lake. He did not push. He was just listening. You don't have to let them back in, you know, he replied finally. Blood's not a free pass to your peace. I nodded slowly, my hands curled around a paper cup of something expensive and pumpkin-flavored. I know, I replied. I just never thought I'd be the one with the choice. I received a text from Axel a week after his birthday. That alone seemed strange. Axel had scarcely recognized me outside of group family discussions, when I was typically the only one who did not receive a response. His message was civil. Hey dude, long time. I saw your article and am proud of you. I'd love to catch up sometime. I stared at it for quite a while. No typos, no emojis, just the quiet, controlled tone of someone about to request something. I did not respond right away. 2 days later he responded, I've been thinking, maybe we could grab lunch. I'd love to know how you got involved with Uncle Christian. You've always had a good head for systems. That part had me laughing. Axel used to say, I don't do spreadsheets. That's Adam's thing. In the same tone as someone would use to remark, I don't do math. He started calling me a systems man. I questioned Christian about it over coffee. He's reaching out, I explained. Should I respond? Christian stirred his espresso and gave me a look that therapists would probably charge $200 per hour for. Do you want to? He inquired. That was the hardest part. A year ago, I would have said yes, without hesitation. I would have crawled through the glass simply to hear Axel say something kind. What about now? I could now hear the wheels working behind his words. I think he wants something, I finally said. Christian nodded. Probably. People don't like seeing someone they underestimate triumph. Makes them uncomfortable. I did not respond to Axel. I did not need to. But the silence did not last. A week later, my mother called. This time it wasn't merely a polite inquiry. Her voice had a prepared tone, as if she was attempting to seem casual and knowledgeable. However, she kept tripping over her own ambitions. She said, Your father and I were talking, and we were amazed at how far you've come. You've really grown up, Michael. Thanks, I replied cautiously. Axel's startup is entering a vital growth period. You know, he created such an excellent app. It connects students with freelance opportunities in real time. It's just so modern. Anyway, he wants to pitch it to genuine investors. Since you're working with Christian, there it was. I let the silence continue. I don't make investment decisions, Mom. Well, of course not. But you could say it to Christian. Simply pass it around. Family helps family. Family is assisting family. The same family that once neglected to pick me up from school because Axel had a dentist appointment. The same family that advised me to figure it out because I couldn't afford textbooks. I ended the call gently. Then I turned my phone to mute and stared out my flat window for a long time. I was tired. Not in the physical way I used to be, operating on 3 hours of sleep and working 2 jobs. But are weary of being regarded as an asset. Now I had value. At work, I was thriving. Kareem entrusted me with a vendor onboarding initiative that had a direct influence on our fourth quarter operations. I gave my first presentation at a meeting. Me. The guy who used to sweat through his shirt just asked for time off at the grocery store. But at home, if I could call it that, the emotional math remained unchanged. I was still a tool, a link, a means to an objective. Christian contacted me once that night. I've got an invite to a private, networking event this Friday, he told me. Small team, founders, investors, and a few operations leaders. Do you want to come? I paused. Won't I be out of place? You're already in the room, Adam, remarked the instructor. Time to stop standing in the hallway. I stood in front of my absurdly small closet, trying to pick which clothes made me look like I didn't stumble into a wealthy mixer off the street. The only thing hanging that didn't say intern at Best Buy it was a charcoal blazer Christian had given me a few weeks previously. It still had its tags on. I'd never had a suitable place to wear it. Until now. The networking event was held on a rooftop in downtown. The kind of setting where champagne tastes like fortune. And small hors d'oeuvres that require a translation to pronounce. Everyone seemed like they were poised to conclude a merger. Or steal a spaceship. Christian greeted me in the elevator, looking sharp. Nervous? He inquired. I nodded. On a scale of 1 to identity theft, very. He clapped my back. You identify with more than half of them, just don't mention synergy until it's an emergency. The first 10 minutes were terrible. I hovered around the cheese platter as if it were home base in a game of corporate tag. But then someone asked about my job. And I responded warily at first. Then with confidence I didn't realize I had. By the end of the night I had exchanged business cards with the supply chain director. We had a comprehensive conversation about logistics AI. And just knocked over a tiny wine glass. Christian observed me the entire time. Not like a bodyguard, but like someone who realized how far I'd come. As the crowd dispersed, he leaned down and said, "You didn't fake anything tonight. That's how you know it's genuine." I smiled. And for once, I believed him. The next morning reality confronted me in the shape of Axel standing outside my apartment. I'm not sure how he discovered my address. Probably Mom. She never encountered a boundary that she did not pass, such as a finish line. He looked exactly like I remembered. Designer hoodie, immaculate haircut, and the arrogance of someone who'd never had a bounced check in their lives. "Hey," he said, as if we had chatted yesterday. "Hope this isn't weird." "It is," I said without opening the screen door. "Look, I just want to talk. 2 minutes, please." Against my better judgment, I allowed him in. He strolled about like he was taking a real estate tour. "Wow, this is nice. You've really upgraded. I didn't invite you for a walkthrough." He sat on my couch, and looked at me as if we were equals, as if he hadn't overlooked every difficulty I'd ever faced. "So," he added with humor, "I've got something to ask, and I wanted to do it face to face. Man to man." I did not say anything. I just crossed my arms. "My app, Freelance Link, is gaining traction on campus. We'll be beta testing next month. I'd like to pitch it to Christian, and thought you might be able to help out." There it was. The request. I let the silence stretch. "Look," he said hurriedly. "I know we weren't always close. But you have to understand. Mom and Dad, they always pushed me so hard. I didn't have it easy either. That was lavish. You had a car before I had a mattress, I told you. You received tutoring, coaching, and every chance. And I was ghosted on my own birthday." He winced, only a little. "That was a rough year." "No, Axel. That was just my life." He appeared stunned. Maybe he expected me to roll over. Maybe he still saw me as the same tired, hungry youngster who couldn't say no. But I was not. "I'm not in," I stated firmly. "If your idea is good, pitch it on your own. I'm not your shortcut." He rose up, his expression soured. "Wow. So you finally get a whiff of success, and now you're too good for your own family." I stared at him. "No," I replied. "I'm finally good to myself. There's a difference." He did not slam the door as he left. This would have needed conviction. Instead, he left with the same entitlement that he came in with. He was frustrated that the world did not offer him what he wanted. That night, I told Christian what had transpired. "You did the right thing," he stated without hesitation. "People will try to ride your momentum, especially the ones who never helped you build it." I nodded, heart pumping. Drawing a barrier should not feel like war. However, when you've spent your entire life being trodden on, even standing still might feel rebellious. I arrived at work 10 minutes early the following Monday, after Axel had arrived unexpectedly. Not because I had anything to prove, but because I really wanted to be there. Kareem gave me a nod as I passed by his office. "You've got that promotion walk," he quipped. I laughed. I thought that was just called posture. Christian pulled me aside over lunch. We walked to a small cafe across the street, the kind where coffee is served in glasses rather than mugs. And everything smells somewhat of truffle oil and tax levels. "I've been watching you," Christian replied, taking nibbles of an exorbitant salad. "You're sharp. You listen. You lead quietly. But people follow." I blinked. "Thanks." "That's not a compliment," he responded. "It's a warning, because people are going to notice, which means they'll start testing your voice." I had no idea where this was going, until he slipped a folder across the table. It was a proposition, a whole internal project including our logistics system. Finally, there is Michael, last name, the project lead. "You want me to run this?" He nodded. "We'll offer you a modest squad, nothing big, but this is yours, beginning to end." It wasn't simply a promotion, it was trust. Proof that I was not a charity recipient or a family favor. I had earned it. That night I walked home slower than normal, not because I was exhausted, but because I wanted to take it all in. I stopped at a street vendor to get a falafel wrap. Then I sat on the stairs outside my building, as I had done when I couldn't buy groceries. Back then, I ate cold pizza crusts and pretended not to cry. Now I was seated under the same streetlight. But I was not the same person. The incident with Axel had made an impression. Yes, I had replayed it in my thoughts 100 times. I considered what I could have said differently. Whether I should have been nicer, harder, or colder. But every time I played over the recollection, I came to the same conclusion. I did not owe him softness, simply because we shared DNA. I did not owe him anything. Every day, that thought made me feel less terrified. I returned to work and struck the ground running. The project Christian assigned me was not easy. It requires cross-departmental collaboration and data management, and determining why our vendor chains had the reaction time of a dial-up modem. But for the first time in my life, I wanted to do difficult tasks. It felt like creating a future with my own hands, instead of pleading to be included in someone else's. People noticed. Kareem handed me his old standing desk. Don't get cocky, I just hate sitting. My inbox went from, hey, can you fix this spreadsheet? To Adam, can you lead this call? During a video call one afternoon, I caught sight of my reflection in the office window. Shirt is pressed, hair isn't terrible, focused, confidence. And I thought, so this is what it's like to exist without permission. Christian visited my workplace at the conclusion of the week. So, he replied, feel like you're finally on the path? I nodded. Yeah, and it's mine. That's the best part. He smiled. I told you had the brain. You just needed a place where nobody was trying to lower the lights. We strolled out together that evening, past the downtown lights, past the life I used to pursue from the outside. And I realized something that made me stop for a little moment. I wasn't chasing anymore. I was making a choice. It was Saturday morning when I received the email. Subject: Family Brunch. Let us reunite. Sent by my mother. I've copied everyone. Me, Dad, Axel, some cousins, and even Great Aunt Linda, who still writes her texts with love, Ale. The message was covered in sugar but hollow inside. Michael, we are very pleased with how far you have gone. We'd love to invite you over to celebrate your achievement and reconnect as a family. There's no pressure. Just brunch and love. I sat there, coffee in hand, rereading the words as if they were part of a script I didn't want to act out anymore. The timing was excellent. I had just completed the logistics project ahead of schedule, with wonderful comments from 3 departments. Kareem gave me a fist bump, which developed into an embrace. Christian simply nodded and added, I knew you would. I'd never been the person I knew you would be before. And now there was this email. It's as if nothing happened. The years of stillness, the dismissiveness, the sudden opportunistic adoration. I did not respond right away. I went for a walk and got myself a huge dessert from a downtown bakery, simply because I could. Sat in the park, watching joggers pass by with headphones and perfect lifestyles. Then I went home, opened a blank response, and wrote this. Subject: Family Brunch. Let us reunite. Hello Mom, thank you for the invitation. I appreciate the gesture. But I believe you are looking to reconnect with someone other than me. It's who I have become. And while I'm proud of who I am today, that version of me was not created with your backing. He was built, despite your absence. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just finished granting access to people who only turn up when it's convenient. I will not be attending brunch. Not because I am bitter, but I'm working creating a life in which I don't have to question if I matter. Wish Axel success with his software. Michael, I did not wait for a response. I did not refresh my inbox. I didn't even keep a copy in my drafts. I pushed submit and shut down my laptop. That night, Christian and I went out to drink. Nothing fancy. Just a corner tavern with strong coffee and strong opinions. We did not discuss the family. We did not need to. Instead, he lifted his glass to me. To the guy who rewrote his own story, stated the gentleman. I grinned, touched my glass against his and said, to the people who thought they could write me out of it.